Well, I'm from the Boondocks, also known as Boonesboro, Missouri. I'm the youngest out of four wild girls, making me the baby, or better yet, the crybaby, as they like to call me. A materially saturated upbringing was not the case for us girls, so there was a lot of freedom to create and explore. When we didn't have the resources for things, we would just imagine we did, sparking my creativity. And since I lived in the boonies, getting to and from was not a simple task. Therefore, extracurricular activities were not an option. So I spent a lot of my days outside. We didn't have a lot of space with four girls sharing a bedroom, so being outside helped give me the space we needed to just be. There, I had the space to start singing and writing. I can recall being in first grade thinking I was going to be it, the whole trifecta. Singer, dancer, actress, real Disney Channel-esque. It was the first dream that I ever had, one I never really lost. I've just revised it a bit. In fifth grade, it was time for me to start a band, which may not sound thrilling, but for me, that was the goal. It was the one thing my parents allowed us girls to do, as it took place during school hours, so we never had to find a ride. Music has been in my family for forever. My great-grandpa Fred Eugene Cousin served in the Navy and the military way back when, and he would make his own instruments. He had a plethora of things he found around the world, and he would bring them back home and play them. Didn't matter what it was, violins, mandolins, old boxes turned into guitars, you name it, but he could make it sound like something. Through the lineage, I was handed down an alto saxophone, which helped me to develop a solid foundation for music theory. In sixth grade, I was still playing saxophone, but things started to get a bit challenging for me. My grades were always great, and I always got along well with pretty much everyone in my class, but getting bullied for being biracial and overweight made the bus rides to and from school unbearable, especially when my biggest bully was none other than my sister. Let's call her Becky. Yeah. We were only 16 months apart, so naturally we would bump heads. As hormones took center stage, it felt like the only thing to do was insult one another, but ultimately left me overwhelmed, insecure, and anxious, especially when those 2-hour-long bus rides were a zoo. And being the only poor fat black kid in a rural area on a bus ride, you can imagine how uninviting that would become. Around this time, my oldest two sisters moved out, leaving just Becky and I at home. After convincing our parents to quit smoking, our family made some big and healthy life changes. We all began to study the Bible regularly and attend weekly worship services together. That transition of lifestyle allowed us to finally move out of a 2-bedroom trailer in the middle of nowhere with dial-up internet, no phone service, and hardly working anything to the big city of Boonville, where I finally got my own bedroom at 13 years old. I then decided it was time to beg my mother for the opportunity to homeschool. My cousin, who was just a bit younger than she had been doing it for about a year, and it seemed to be a good option given we had similar experiences in school. So in the middle of 6th grade, I said goodbye to the typical way of doing things and started homeschooling with my cousin, or so I thought. Well, my sister Becky, the bully, decided on a whim to homeschool herself right beside me. But it was a blessing in disguise. After countless fights and property damage, we eventually learned to respect one another. Personally, it was the best thing I could have ever done, as it allowed me to do so much extracurricular learning. I got to work a bit and make some money so I could buy my first stringed instrument, the electric bass. Afterwards, I was gifted a guitar, then I bought another one, and then I bought a ukulele, and I also made use out of my very out-of-tune piano that I somehow made sound like something, a skill handed down from my great-grandpa Gene. I would perform at open mic nights, and I attempted to manage my cousin's band. I was just enjoying the process. But with time, we grow. It seemed as if everyone I had grown up with was in a relationship or just moving forward with their lives. I had always wanted to be a single queen, so this experience made me feel isolated once again. I reacted in a poor way to the lifestyles of those around me, and I eventually went down a path of trials and tribulations. I didn't have a car, I didn't have any money, I didn't have a phone, and I had lost connection to everyone who had been important in my life. I threw away everything I knew and loved. I completely stopped playing music, and I was constantly moving around and getting different jobs. Now, this was a very empty moment of my life. Feelings of worthlessness and shame caused me to develop uncontrollable negative emotions. After being involuntarily committed to the Missouri Psychiatric Center a few too many times, undergoing therapy, office visits, I was then diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, amongst other things, and dialectical behavioral therapy, DBT, and mindfulness enabled me to start tending to my physical and mental health. Almost 5 years later, at the age of 21, a kind lady helped me out of a snowstorm. She let me warm up in her home, where she then gave me an 88-key electric keyboard before giving me a ride. Then in 2020, well, we all know what happened in 2020, but I also met Lloyd Warden. He reached out to me after hearing a song I had written. He was persistent in having me meet with him and deepen my musical knowledge. Mind you, I was a self-taught lady, so the idea of taking lessons didn't make much sense to me, but he felt like the truth, which sounds like a myth these days. He arranged for my old, mangled electric bass to get repaired. After a couple months, he loaned me the biggest, most intense, challenging piece of equipment I have ever laid my eyes on, the upright bass. But he was convinced that it was the instrument for me and that it was the missing piece. I couldn't even hit an open string on it, let alone try to fret one. But he was right. It took vigorous effort to learn and to try to stay disciplined to grow. But I was able to begin gigging in August 2021, and I created an LLC by the end of 2022. Now I entertain events, cocktail parties, wine and dinner tastings, and I even got to deliver a bride to her groom. Through all of this, I met some of the very people who brought me to this stage tonight. Adonica Coleman specifically had given me opportunities to entertain at some of her events. And last May at the Athena Awards at Stevens College, I met the wonderfully vibrant professional Allie Teagarden. We sat by each other and chatted a majority of the evening about life. I then learned about That's What She Said. Later, she asked me to be a part of this wonderful night of storytelling. I was very reluctant. I had no idea what I was going to share, given my very humble roots. She reassured me, though. Every story has value. At least, that's what she said. I've learned that no matter what we've done or where we've gone, we all have a story. We all have a voice. Even I have a voice, and it's beautiful. Thank you.
I have a voice, started out as a whisper, turned into a scream, made a beautiful noise, shoulder to shoulder marching in the street. When you're all alone, it's a quiet breeze, but when you band together, it's a choir of thunder and rain. Now we have a choice, 'cause I have a voice. I'm not living to die. Don't stand in a wasteland, look at me in the eye. Stop living a lie and stand up next to me.
You gotta put one foot in front of the other, with a hand in a hand, holding on to each other. Go on and rejoice, 'cause you have a voice.
It is loud, it is clear, it's stronger than your fear. It's believing you belong, it's for calling out the wrong. From the silence of our sisters to the violence of our brothers, we can rage against the pain, feel the rain of another. I have a voice, I have a voice, and I let it speak for the ones who aren't yet really free. It's killing me, no one is saying what we need to hear. I will not let silence win. Now when I see all the pain our people are in, there's no other choice, 'cause I have a voice.
It is loud, it is clear, it's stronger than your fear.
It's believing you belong, it's for calling out the wrong. From the mouths of our mothers to the lips of our daughters, we can dream like our brothers, speaking loud like our fathers. We can heal. Can you hear us? Can you hear us now? I have a voice, started out as a whisper, turned into a scream, made a beautiful noise, shoulder to shoulder marching in the street. When you're all alone, it's a quiet breeze. When you band together, it's quiet, a thundering rain. Now we have a choice, 'cause I have a voice.
Now we have a choice, 'cause I have a voice.
Now